All right, this is my first presentation in like 15 years, so bear with me. All right. So we are talking about Lightning liquidity and channel management. I can't tell you how many times someone has come to me and said, I run a Lightning node, why can't I receive any payments? You don't have channels open, or you don't have inbound liquidity. Oh shit. All right, so to recap some basics, Lightning, as I'm sure you all know, is a layer 2 on Bitcoin. Consists of peers opening channels to one another, and it requires an on-chain transaction. Did you guys enjoy last month when fees hit like 200 sats per VByte and we're, if you're mining, I'm sure you loved it, but otherwise, not so much. I wanted to open a channel, it was going to cost me like $15 and I could wait. Oh my God.
You're losing it.
I am losing it. We're gonna do this slowly. Okay, so put most simply, inbound versus outbound liquidity. Inbound is how much you can receive to your node. Outbound is the amount of Bitcoin you are able to send to your peers. I stole these images from Bitcoin.design, so they have an MIT license, it's available for free. So for an example, we have Lori and Lamar. I did not name them. Lori opens a 1,000,000 sat channel to Lamar. At this instance, Lori can receive no Bitcoin. She can send 1,000,000 sats to Lamar or someone down path from Lamar. I have a little table at the top right to kind of break it down as we follow this example for one more slide. Lori makes a payment to Lamar for 100,000 sats. You can see her inbound liquidity has now changed. She can receive 100,000 sats. He can send 100,000 sats now. I assume he's a he. And it's reversed on the outbound. Liquidity, as I'm sure you know, is additive amongst all your channels for all your various peers. We've now added Lindsay into the equation. They opened a channel to Lori. In that instance, they can't receive anything, but Lori now has inbound capacity in addition to the 300,000 sat inbound she has from Lamar for a total of 2,300,000 sats. Apologies, I did not do a bits translation here for everyone. So as you get the gist, this builds out the Lightning Network. This is an example of various channels open between various peers with various rates of liquidity in and out from each channel. According to 1ml.com, the average channel is about 8,300,000 sats, which is way more than my channel, so I'm bringing down that average. There's no hard and fast rule of what size channel you should open. A larger channel to one node, in my opinion, is more valuable than smaller channels to a bunch of nodes. There's some potential discussion arguing the opposite way, but I think more liquidity the better to someone that may be more connected. Here's a visualization I found online of the current Lightning Network. I think the number is closer to 14,600 nodes or something like that, and it's a little higher, closer to 60,000 channels. So as you can see, everyone's interconnected. The larger dots are larger channels, and the web gets tighter and tighter as you zoom in. It's impossible to fit it all in one, but I think you kind of get the gist. So once you get some liquidity in, you can hopefully find a path to wherever you're trying to pay. My opinion, and the website I stole this from, there are a derivation of 3 main use cases for Lightning. You're either a routing node, in which case you have a bunch of channels with a bunch of liquidity in both directions. You're probably making some sort of income, I won't call it passive because it's not easy, on your channel fees via either the base fee or the fee rate, which I'll get into in the next slide. There's the merchant class, which probably wants more liquidity, more inbound liquidity than out. They're typically trying to receive payments, not necessarily paying out of them, and then they'll swap out on-chain, which we'll get into in a minute. And there's the wallet user who probably doesn't want to run a node. Maybe they run like a Phoenix, which I guess you're running a node in your pocket, but it's semi-custodial. There's Zeus, which ties into Olympus. There's like Mutiny now. And so you'll have probably the least amount of channels open. You'll have some liquidity each direction. Maybe you want to receive some zaps from posting on Nostr, but it's like largest node to smallest node, I would think. So leaning into the routing node here, you can see, so this person is the routing node. Maybe they're async or voltage or one of the larger LSPs or Lightning service providers. They do a number of things, like I could connect my node to them via channel, and they are connected to a bunch of nodes in the network. All I have to do is kind of have liquidity to them, and they take care of the rest. Leaning on Phoenix for an example, you can put on-chain funds there, and they'll swap into, they'll splice into a Lightning channel for you, depending on the fee rate you set. Or they will allow zero-conf channels, which allow you to send Bitcoin on-chain. It doesn't have to settle. You can spend funds right away on Lightning. This leads to the hub and spoke model of Lightning, which I would highly recommend you read Eric's most recent paper, which goes into the future of the Lightning Network, which would be like, this could be a bank, or maybe this is a mint that tied into the rest of the network, but he goes into great examples of how that might work in the future. While fees are relatively low right now, definitely stack sats, but also stack channels, in my opinion. All right, so you have a node. You've opened some channels. All of your money is on your side right now. How can you get the other side of liquidity? You have plenty of outbound liquidity. You want inbound. The easiest way to do it, spend your Bitcoin. I know most of you are probably like HODL only, but you got to spend the money. It's money. You got to spend it. Highly recommend the Bitcoin company. Visa cards are great. You can buy channels and liquidity from the Lightning service providers, like I mentioned. There are open markets for this. You can, on CLN, it's built into the protocol for liquidity ads. Someone say, I'll open this channel if you pay this amount, so on and so forth. I think it's Ambos has Magma. That's another a market for liquidity. You can also lease out your channels the other direction there. You can ask your friend to open a channel to you. Maybe they have a bunch of channels open elsewhere in the network. You can do submarine swaps and send your Lightning funds. I use bolts.exchange for this. You send them Lightning, they send you back on-chain funds. Or when the fees are really high, you can also lean on Liquid. And just a reminder, Liquid is not Bitcoin. It is a separate chain denominated in Bitcoin, but it's not Bitcoin. I use it. So if it allows you to spend your funds, keep your channel open, and get your funds back on chain. Just food for thought. And then dual funded channels. It's been on CLN. I think it's relatively new to LND. As David mentioned, it allows you to coordinate with a peer and get both inbound and outbound liquidity in one channel open.
If you're asking for incoming channels, are you asking for them to spend like can they open up liquidity without sending?
So they had to pay the on-chain fee.
Okay, so it's the fee. The fee is the.
Yeah, and there's ways. Some of the tools I'll go into the next slide. You can open multiple channels in one transaction to try and keep that fee as low as possible. So that's the gist of liquidity. There's a lot of tools for keeping your channels open and moving your funds back and forth so you're always able to receive, you're always able to send, depending on your use case. I do recommend you run a Lightning node. It's very easy. I've become a Start9 fanboy recently, and it is so easy on that. CLN and LND, because bullying works, and I opened a CLN node. All right, so you want to open a channel. You can do a public announcement, and you just say, hey, I'm opening a channel with Wyatt. And then that channel can then be used for routing. If I have a channel open with Eric, they can come across and just does it automatically. Or it's a private or unannounced channel. It doesn't announce to the network the size of the channel, your alias, but there are ways to sort of dox your channel and kind of probe it and see if there's a connection to another node, so on and so forth. I'm not super well versed in that, but you can still use that channel as the last hop in a payment route. Like, for example, I have a public routing node, and then I have a private node that rejects any incoming connections to that. It's only connected to that routing node, but I still receive payments to that quote-unquote private node. In your channels, there's the base fee and the fee rate. The base fee is charged no matter the size of the payment that is pushed through that channel. It's just you can set it to 0, you can set it to however high you want it to be. The fee rate is proportional to the size of the funds or HTLC pushed through that channel. So for example, if you have a 1 part per million fee rate, that's 1 sat for every million sats that go through that channel. Fees can be used, maybe I have a lot of inbound liquidity on one channel and I want to use the inbound liquidity on one channel, I could put the fees to 0 on that side to incentivize payments to come in through this other channel and not this very popular guy that works for whatever reason. Some tools, I guess these are more just node tools. Ride the Lightning is good for visualizing and interacting with your on-chain and Lightning funds. On the core implementation, you can see liquidity ads and the various fee rates across the network. On the LND implementation, you can open multiple channels and that's on Lightning Terminal. It's a great tool. ThunderHub is also great, but be careful because they're integrated with Ambos, and if you click wrong, you can dump all your information publicly, and I mean, maybe you want to do that, maybe you don't, but it's a great tool for opening channels, seeing what's going on in your channels, signing transactions, etc. Lightning Terminal, I believe, is LND only. But it enables you to use tools like Loop and Pool. Pool is another marketplace for liquidity, and if you want to open or close channels. And Loop is for doing submarine swaps. That is a trustless model, I think. LNDG is a GUI for seeing what's going on in your LND channels. Balance of Satoshi is a terminal or a CLI tool for controlling your LND. I don't think it works with CLN. CLBoss is for automating your fee rates, opening and closing channels, as David mentioned, and just generally automating your node. I think Balance of Satoshi does the same thing. I don't actually use that one. And then Zeus is a great tool for if you're on your phone for connecting to your node and controlling it, opening channels and doing most everything on it. They also have a semi-custodial option now where you can connect to their LSP.
Do you know if CLBoss is for Lightning only?
Yes, yeah. I think, oh, that's all of it, okay. I made this while mining fiat, so that's the best I could do. All in all, I think you should run a Lightning node. It seems daunting at first, but if you just have a couple channels open, it's really not a problem. Running a routing node can be like a part-time job, and it can be a lot of work. I would love to build a Denver Lightning network. I will willingly dox my node if you guys want to connect. But all in all, that's what I have. Are there any questions?
I have a question for you, Dylan. You mentioned Liquid being an exchange for swaps or whatnot. Is Lightning technically Bitcoin then?
Lightning is Bitcoin because it's sats in a 2 of 2 multisig funded by an on-chain transaction. Liquid is a third-party federated model you're trusting. You're probably fine to trust it.
So Liquid's not a layer 2.
It's a layer 2 if you consider everything else a layer 2. It's not Bitcoin, but like
It's a side chain.
it's a side chain. I mean, yeah.
You're like, I'll deposit my Bitcoin and you can promise to
Yeah, it's like wrap Bitcoin.
store
Yeah.
Bitcoin in there.
So there's trust in that you'd hope they're not going to rug you.
It's not a trustless layer 2.
Correct.
For your Bitcoin.
Yeah, yes.
Well, I mean, I could debate the other side of this too. It's, I feel like it's not totally consensus yet exactly what is and isn't Bitcoin. I think the best way to think about it though at this point is that there's other protocols that provide functionality and there's different trust or just risk trade-offs that you have. Like, Lightning, you have the risk of getting locked up for a period of time, perhaps beyond than what you would want if you get into a conflict with another channel that you're a part of. And then you can have more trusted solutions like Liquid or something like eCash. But I think about a lot of it is the same way that our financial system, we have dollars, and that's sent through ACH, it's sent through wires, it's sent with checks, it has cash. There's different ways that we use these different means of payment, would be the economic qualification for it. And different means of payment have different characteristics associated with it.
Yeah.
Would you say that LBTC is backed by Bitcoin?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if something is redeemable for something, I think that's the economic definition for it. Is that as long as it's redeemable for the asset itself, then you would argue that it's backed for it, whether it's trusted or not.
Bottom line, the functionaries on Liquid could slot for your transaction.
Correct.
Yeah.
Because anyone can peg into Liquid, but you have to go through one of the Federation members to go out of Liquid.
So what's unique to Bitcoin is that basically for the first time in any financial system, we can use cryptography for other mechanisms where we have another means of payment and we can actually reduce or completely eliminate the trust of any sort of rug pull emerging. And that's never existed in any sort of scaling mechanism of a financial system before, and that's what's really, really cool.
Long story short, read Eric's paper. But yeah, Liquid's a great tool, especially when fees are high, because it allows you to dump your channels, not necessarily on chain, but you can, if your channel fills back up, you can dump it again over multiple times until it makes sense economically to move back on chain from Liquid. But that's all she wrote.
Thanks, Dylan.